What if the heaviest thing you are carrying today is a relationship that no longer exists outside of your own mind? Have you ever noticed how exhausting it is to keep a connection alive all by yourself, long after the other person has walked away? If you have ever felt stuck in the memories of what was, replaying conversations in the empty space of your room, waiting for a closure that never seems to arrive, this is for you. Stay until the end, because the final lesson may change the way you hold this pain forever. 1. The weight of an invisible relationship. It is a strange and silent kind of suffering. You wake up, and for a split second, everything feels normal. And then, the memory returns. The reality of their absence settles back onto your chest. In the real world, the relationship has ended. The calls have stopped. The future you planned together has dissolved. But inside your mind, the relationship is still fighting to survive. You are still having conversations with them in your head. You are still trying to figure out what went wrong, what you could have said differently, how you could have fixed it. You are carrying the weight of two people entirely on your own. It takes an immense amount of energy to keep a dead thing alive. Your heart becomes a museum for someone who no longer visits. You curate the memories, dusting them off every night, analyzing every smile and every argument. Buddhist wisdom teaches that much of our deepest suffering comes not from the loss itself, but from our refusal to accept that the loss has occurred. It is the attachment to a ghost. We suffer because we cling to the image of what we had, or what we hope to have, long after the reality has shifted. In Buddhism, this clinging is seen as a rejection of impermanence. Everything in this life is in motion. People arrive, they teach us, they love us, and sometimes they leave. To resist this natural flow is to fight against the very nature of existence. We believe that by holding on to the pain, by replaying the memories, we are somehow keeping the connection alive. But holding on to a finished chapter does not rewrite the ending. It only prevents you from turning the page. Imagine standing by a river, holding a single beautiful autumn leaf. For a while, you admired it, but eventually, the wind took it from your hand and dropped it into the current. Now, instead of watching the leaf float away, instead of accepting that the river has taken it, you are running along the bank. You are exhausting yourself, stumbling over rocks, scraping your hands, desperately trying to keep up with something that is no longer yours to hold. This is what we do with ended relationships. We stare at glowing screens, looking for signs that they miss us. We read old messages to feel close to them again. We isolate ourselves from the present moment because we are so busy sprinting alongside the river of the past, trying to catch something that has already flowed out of reach. Ask yourself, is holding on to this ghost bringing you peace, or is it keeping you trapped in a cycle of silent grief? What are you afraid will happen if you finally let yourself stop running? Pause, breathe. You do not have to forget them today. You do not even have to stop loving them. But you must recognize that you are carrying something that is no longer there. Let the feeling of loss rise without making it your permanent home. Acknowledge the empty space beside you. Let it be empty. Do not rush to fill it with illusions. You are allowed to set the heavy burden down. You are allowed to stop fighting for a connection that only exists in your memory. Because peace is not found in figuring out the past. It is found in accepting what is, but accepting reality is often blocked by a powerful mirage we create in our own minds. And this is where the next truth begins. 2. The illusion of what could have been. Here is the truth few people want to face. The hardest thing to let go of is rarely the person themselves. It is the potential of what could have been. You are not just mourning a breakup. You are mourning an entire unlived future. When a relationship ends, we do not just lose the texts, the physical presence, or the daily routines. we lose the plans, the trips you talked about taking next year, the promises they made when things were good, the version of them you were waiting for them to become. You are carrying around a heavy, invisible blueprint for a house that will never be built. Buddhist wisdom reminds us that the mind is a master architect of illusions. We suffer because we fall in love with these illusions. We attach our happiness to a future that does not exist anywhere except in our imagination. In Buddhist thought, grasping at what is not real is a primary source of deep emotional pain. We compare the quiet, sometimes lonely reality of our present moment to a perfect, flawless fantasy where everything worked out. But you are comparing reality to a ghost. Imagine walking through a dry, barren desert. You are exhausted and thirsty. In the distance, you see a shimmering lake. You run toward it, spending all your remaining energy to reach the water. But as you get closer, the lake vanishes. It was never water. It was only light and heat, a mirage. No matter how much you wanted it to be real, no matter how thirsty you were, you cannot drink from a mirage. This is what happens when we live in the space of what could have been. We replay their apologies and imagine them finally changing. We think about the moments they were kind and tell ourselves that this was their true self. Ignoring the actions that actually broke the connection, we stay thirsty, chasing a mirage of potential, instead of finding real water in the present moment. We cling to the hope that maybe, if circumstances were just slightly different, the story would have had a happy ending. Think about your own life. When you feel the sharp ache of missing them, ask yourself this honest question. Are you missing the person they actually were at the end? Or are you missing the person you desperately hoped they would be? Are you grieving the reality of the relationship or the beautiful fantasy you painted over it? Stop trying to walk on a bridge made of clouds. It will not hold your weight. Pause. Breathe. When your mind pulls you into the future that was lost, gently bring yourself back to the truth of what happened. Acknowledge the mirage for what it is. It was a beautiful hope, but it was not real. Letting go of the potential does not mean you failed. It means you are choosing truth over illusion. You are choosing to stop running after a mirage so you can finally rest. But recognizing the illusion is only part of the journey, because long after the future fades, the mind has another trap waiting, and that is where the next truth begins. 3. The danger of living in memory. What if the hardest part of moving forward is that you are still constantly looking backward? Here is a difficult truth. When a relationship ends, the mind often tries to protect us by retreating into the past. We take shelter in the warm, familiar memories to avoid the cold, empty feeling of the present. You know this feeling. You find yourself scrolling through old photographs, rereading messages from a time when they still looked at you with love. You replay the first dates, the quiet mornings, the moments you felt completely safe. It is exhausting to exist in two timelines at once. Your body is here, but your soul is stuck in a year that has already ended. You have built a home out of memories. But the problem with living in the past is that the rent is paid with your present joy. In Buddhist thought, true peace can only be found in the present moment. Mindfulness is not just a practice of sitting quietly. It is about where your consciousness resides. When your mind is anchored in the past, you are completely disconnected from the life that is happening around you right now. You suffer because you are clinging to the ghost of a moment that has already dissolved into time. Buddhism reminds us that clinging to past joy causes just as much pain as running from present sorrow, because it creates a painful split between where your body is and where your mind lives. Imagine you are sitting alone in a darkened, dusty room. In the center of the room is an old film projector, playing a beautiful movie of your favorite day. The colors are bright, the laughter is loud, and you watch it over and over again. But outside that room, the sun is shining. The wind is blowing, and a whole world is moving forward. As long as you stay in the dark, watching the projection of a day that has already passed, you are missing the sky outside. This is what happens when we use memory as a hiding place. We isolate ourselves. We decline invitations. We ignore the people who are actually here, loving us in the present, because we are too busy trying to resurrect a feeling from someone who is gone. We compare every new sunrise to a sunset from years ago. We let the echo of an old love drown out the quiet, beautiful possibilities of today. Think about your own life. When you retreat into these memories, are you actually feeling better, or are you just tearing open the wound to make sure you can still feel it? Is this memory giving you peace, or is it starving you of the life you have right now? Pause. Breathe. Gently bring your awareness back to the physical space you are in right now. Feel your feet on the ground. Notice the light in the room. The past is not happening right now. Let the memory play, but do not sit in the dark and watch it forever. You do not have to burn the old film, but you do have to step out of the room. Because memory was never meant to be a place you live. It is only a place you visit. But walking out of that room requires you to face a heavy, quiet burden we carry inside. And this is where the next truth begins. 4. Forgiving yourself for still caring. What if the quietest battle you are fighting is not against the person who left, but against your own heart, for still loving them? Here is a truth that is rarely spoken. We often feel deeply ashamed that we have not moved on yet. You know this heavy guilt. You look at the calendar and count the months that have passed, wondering why it still hurts. Your friends tell you to let it go. The world tells you to be strong, to forget them, and to walk away completely unaffected. So you begin to judge yourself. You feel foolish because a passing smell or a certain song still brings tears to your eyes. You feel weak because you still secretly wish them well. You try to force indifference, believing that if you can just become cold, you will finally be safe. You are carrying the pain of the loss, and on top of that, you are carrying the heavy shame of still caring. Buddhist wisdom teaches a profound lesson about compassion, and it begins entirely with yourself. In Buddhism, it is understood that pain is a natural part of the human experience, but suffering is often created by our resistance to that pain. There is a teaching known as the 2 arrows. The first arrow is the end of the relationship. It strikes you, and it causes deep pain. You cannot avoid the first arrow, but the second arrow is the one you shoot into yourself. It is the judgment. It is the anger at your own heart for still bleeding. You suffer twice, once from the loss, and once from the shame of your own humanity. Imagine a great tree standing in a quiet forest. The seasons shift, and a harsh winter arrives. The cold wind blows, and the tree stands bare. Now, imagine if the tree grew angry at itself for not sprouting green leaves in the dead of winter. Imagine if it felt deeply ashamed that it was taking so long to bloom again. We know that the tree cannot force spring to arrive before its time. It must simply stand, feel the cold, and trust that the warmth will return when the season is ready. This is what we do when we rush our own healing. We try to force our hearts into spring when we are still in the middle of winter. We look at others who seem to move on quickly, and we feel broken. We believe that still caring is a weakness. But a heart that continues to love even after it has been hurt is a heart of immense, quiet strength. It is okay that you still care. It means you meant what you said. It means your connection was real. Ask yourself, are you judging your own heart for doing exactly what it was meant to do? Are you shooting a second arrow into a wound that is already trying to heal? Pause. Breathe. Forgive yourself for taking a long time to heal. Forgive yourself for still holding love for someone who is no longer here. Let the feeling exist without calling it a failure. You do not need to turn your heart to stone to find peace. You only need to stop fighting the season you are in. But to truly let the winter pass, you have to accept how the story closed. And this is where the next truth begins. 5. Letting the story end without you. What if the hardest closure to accept is the one where you are no longer part of the plot? Here is a truth that is deeply painful to acknowledge. When you have loved someone profoundly, you expect to be there for the resolution. You expect an ending that makes sense. You know this hollow feeling. You find yourself wondering what they are doing right now, who they are spending their time with, or if they have finally become the person they promised to be. You look for clues from afar. You wait for that one last conversation, that perfect apology, or the mutual understanding that will finally allow you to rest. You feel a desperate need to write the final chapter together. It feels incredibly unjust to realize that their life is moving forward. The days are turning, and your name is no longer written in the ink. You feel like a character who was suddenly forced off the stage. Buddhist wisdom teaches us the deep practice of releasing our demand for specific outcomes. We suffer because we insist that life must tie up neatly, with every loose end perfectly explained. But Buddhism reminds us that all things are born of shifting conditions. People come together when conditions align, and they part ways when conditions change. Clinging to the need for external closure is a trap. It gives the key to your inner peace to someone who has already walked away. The profound lesson is this: closure is not something someone else hands to you. It is a quiet internal acceptance that the current chapter is finished. Imagine sitting in a quiet room, reading a beautiful, captivating book. You read halfway through, completely invested in the journey. But suddenly, the words stop. The remaining pages are entirely blank. You are frustrated. You keep flipping the empty, white paper, searching for the missing ink, demanding to know how it all resolves. You refuse to leave the room until you know the ending. But the truth is, the story in that book is over for you. You can either spend the rest of your life staring at blank pages, or you can gently close the cover, place it on the shelf, and walk outside. This is what we do when we obsess over a life we are no longer part of. We ask mutual friends for updates. We check their digital footprints. We try to force ink onto empty paper. We put our own growth on hold, waiting for a final explanation that will never arrive. We stay trapped in the room of a finished story. Think about your own life. Are you secretly waiting for an apology they will never give? Are you keeping your own heart locked in a waiting room just to see what happens to them next? Is this search for closure bringing you peace, or is it just a disguised way of holding on to them? Pause, breathe, release the need to know how their story ends. You do not need their final words to find your own peace. Stop trying to read the blank pages. Close the book. Place it gently on the shelf with reverence for what it taught you, because you cannot write your next beautiful chapter if your hands are still gripping a story that is already finished. But closing the book requires us to separate the facts of what happened from the intense emotions we attach to it. And this is where the next truth begins. 6. The difference between memory and reality. What if the person you are crying over no longer exists? Here is a truth that is deeply difficult to hold. When we are consumed by loss, we often lose the ability to see clearly. The mind becomes a selective editor of our past. You know this struggle. A familiar song plays, and suddenly you are flooded with the golden light of the good days. You remember the warmth, the effortless laughter, the feeling of finally being understood. But over time, the mind washes away the shadows. It quietly erases the arguments. It softens the sudden coldness. It deletes the moments you felt completely alone while sitting right next to them. You are no longer grieving a complex, flawed human being. You are grieving a flawless character your mind has invented to protect you from the messy, painful reality of the actual ending. Buddhist wisdom teaches that a vast amount of our suffering stems from our inability to see things exactly as they are. We look at our past through the heavy lens of our own attachment. We crave the pleasant feelings, so we magnify them. We fear the painful realities, so we bury them. True mindfulness requires us to look with a steady, unflinching gaze at the whole picture. It asks us to separate the beautiful story we desperately want to believe from the quiet facts of what actually occurred. Imagine walking through a quiet forest and seeing the moon reflected perfectly on the still surface of a dark pond. It looks so bright, so close, so real. But if you reach your hands into the water, trying to hold that beautiful light, the image instantly shatters. Your hands come up empty, dripping with cold water. The moon was never in the pond. It was only a reflection. If you want the truth of the moon, you have to look up at the vast, empty sky. This is what we do when we refuse to separate memory from reality. We reach into the cold water of the past, desperately trying to hold on to a reflection. We look at old photographs and expect them to provide real warmth. We hold on to the sweet promises they made, but ignore the painful actions they repeated. We forget the quiet anxiety we felt during the relationship because we are too busy romanticizing its end. We mistake the beautiful reflection in the water for the reality of the sky. Think about your own life. Are you mourning the reality of how they treated you at the very end? Or are you mourning the reflection in the pond? Are you missing the truth of the relationship, or just the comfortable feeling of being loved? Pause. Breathe. Step back from the water. Acknowledge that they gave you beautiful, genuine moments, but also acknowledge the undeniable, painful truths that finally led to the goodbye. You must hold both. You do not have to hate them in order to heal. You do not need to turn them into a villain to move forward. You just have to see the situation clearly. But once the illusions fall away and you finally see the truth, what do you do with the lingering wound that remains? And this is where the next truth begins. 7. Transforming the wound into tenderness. What if the goal of healing is not to stop loving them, but to change the way you hold that love? Here is a truth that goes against everything we are taught about moving on. We believe that to heal, we must completely erase the past. You know this internal war. We treat our own hearts like battlegrounds. We delete the photos in a sudden panic. We avoid the streets we used to walk together. We try to force ourselves to feel nothing. We think that if we still feel a spark of warmth when we think of them, we are failing at letting go. We fight against the lingering love because we associate it directly with the sharp, agonizing pain of loss. We believe that as long as we remember them, we are trapped. Every memory feels like a knife we are turning in our own chest. Buddhist wisdom teaches that pain only becomes a permanent wound when we refuse to let it transform. In Buddhist thought, resistance creates the very suffering we are trying to escape. When you fiercely fight a memory, you only give it more power over you. The practice here is not amputation, it is integration. When we stop resisting the memory, the sharp edges begin to soften. The ultimate goal of non-attachment is not cold indifference. It is the profound ability to hold something gently without needing to possess it. You can let a memory remain beautiful without demanding that it return to your present reality. Imagine a sharp, jagged piece of broken glass resting on the shore of a vast ocean. When it is first broken, it is dangerous. If you close your fist tightly around it, it will cut you deeply. But over time, the relentless waves of the ocean wash over it. The sand and the water tumble the glass, day after day, year after year. It does not stop being glass, but the sharp, dangerous edges are slowly worn away. It becomes sea glass, smooth, quiet, and completely safe to hold in the palm of your hand. It is no longer a weapon. It is a quiet testament to the ocean's persistence. This is what happens when we finally stop fighting our memories. we stop squeezing our hands around the broken glass of the past. Instead, we let the quiet waves of time and acceptance wash over it. We allow ourselves to remember their laugh or the safety we once felt without letting it cut us. We stop turning the memory into a desperate demand for their return. We look back at a quiet moment we shared, and instead of breaking down because it is over, we can smile quietly because it happened. The love transforms into tenderness. Tenderness for the beauty of what was, and profound tenderness for your own heart. Think about your own life. Are you still squeezing the sharp edges of the past, punishing yourself with what is gone? What if you allowed the memory to be just a memory, without needing it to dictate your future? Pause. Breathe. The next time a warm memory of them surfaces, do not push it away in fear. Do not grip it in sorrow, just observe it. Let the wave wash over the glass. You do not have to kill the love to find your peace. You only need to let it become a quiet, gentle thing. But to allow this softening to fully happen, you must make a conscious choice about where you build your life today. And this is where the next truth begins. 8. Creating space for the present moment. What if the reason you feel so entirely empty is not because they are missing, but because you are missing from your own life? Here is a truth that is quiet, but incredibly profound. When we spend all our energy maintaining an invisible connection, we abandon ourselves. You know this detachment. You walk through the grocery store, but you are not really there. You sit with your friends, listening to their laughter, but you are miles away, lost in a conversation that already ended years ago. The physical world around you feels thin, gray, and muted. The only thing that feels vivid is the pain. We often blame the person who left for taking all the color out of the world, but the reality is that the color is still there. We have simply stopped looking at it. We have vacated the present moment to stand guard over an empty room in the past. We have left our own lives entirely unattended. Buddhist wisdom teaches that true vitality, the actual beating pulse of existence, is only ever found right here, right now. The past is a phantom, and the future is a shadow. In Buddhist thought, mindfulness is the act of gently escorting yourself back home to reality. When we are deeply attached to a loss, we starve the present moment of our attention. But the present moment is the only place where real healing can actually occur. It is the only place where the sun actually shines, where rain actually falls, and where new seeds can actually grow. We suffer because we refuse to plant anything in the ground we are standing on today. Imagine you are living in a house with a beautiful, vast garden. But instead of walking outside, you spend every single day locked in the basement, staring at an old, faded painting of a flower. You become obsessed with the painting. You study every brushstroke, mourning the fact that you can never touch it or smell it. Meanwhile, just outside the window, real soil is waiting for rain. Real seeds are ready to bloom, but they are dying of neglect because you refuse to look away from the painting. This is what we do. When we refuse to engage with the present moment, we ignore the very real, very quiet blessings that are standing right in front of us. We overlook the deep, loyal love of a friend. We ignore the profound peace of a quiet morning. We miss the opportunity to learn, to grow, and to rebuild. We let the actual garden of our lives wither because we are too busy mourning a painting of what used to be. Think about your own life. How much of today have you actually lived? Have you felt the air in your lungs or tasted the food on your plate? Are you waiting for a ghost to come back before you give yourself permission to start living again? Pause, breathe, come back to the room, feel the steady rhythm of your own heart. Notice one beautiful, simple thing in your environment right now. Do not demand that it replace the person you lost. Just let it exist. You have spent enough time guarding an empty room. It is time to open the door, step outside, and let the sun touch your face again. Because stepping fully into today is how you finally lay down the heavy burden. And this brings us to the final truth. 9. The quiet strength of letting go. What if the freedom you have been desperately searching for has been resting in your own hands this entire time? We began this journey by looking at the heavy, invisible burden of carrying a relationship all by yourself. The silent exhaustion of keeping a ghost alive, the constant replaying of old memories in an empty room, waiting for a closure that will never arrive. We spend so much of our lives terrified that if we stop holding on, we will lose the person completely. But now, you know the truth. You know that holding on to the illusion of what could have been does not change the reality of what is. You understand that memory is a beautiful place to visit, but a dangerous place to live. And you have realized that your heart's continued capacity to care is not a weakness to be ashamed of, but a profound testament to your own deep, quiet strength. You have stopped demanding an ending to a story that has already closed its pages. You are no longer gripping the broken glass, but allowing the gentle waves of time to soften those sharp edges into sea glass. In Buddhist wisdom, true letting go is never an act of violent force. It is a slow, quiet act of surrender. You do not pry your tired fingers open. You simply relax your grip. Letting go does not mean you erase the past. It does not mean you deny the love you felt or pretend the pain never existed. It means you accept that the river has moved on. It means you stop running alongside the bank, fighting the current. It means you stand quietly, honoring the water that passed, while finally turning your face toward the warmth of the sun that is shining right where you are standing today. Imagine standing at the edge of a great, wide ocean at dawn. For a long time, you have been holding a heavy, cold stone in your hands. You thought this stone was keeping you anchored. You thought that if you dropped it, you would drift away, lose your identity, and be lost forever. But the stone has only made your arms unbearably tired. It has kept you frozen in one place, staring at the ground, while the entire sky changes beautiful colors above you. Now, quietly, gently, you make a different choice. You open your hands. The stone falls into the water. The ocean swallows it completely, and the surface ripples for just a moment before returning to perfect, glassy stillness. Look at your empty hands. Feel the lightness in your arms. Your hands are not empty because you have been robbed. They are empty because they are finally free to receive the present moment. Think about that. You are no longer trapped in the history of what was. You are not a curator of a museum for someone else's ghost. You are a living, breathing human being, standing at the edge of a brand new morning. You have survived the ending. You have survived the silence. And now, you are stepping back into the light of your own beautiful life. You have done the hardest part. You have carried the weight until you were strong enough to set it down. If these lessons touched your heart, share this video with someone who may need a little more peace today. You can let go now.